Hi, welcome back to the channel. We're listening to Daily Lore, um, Reddit, obviously, Reddit stories. I tell my opinion based off of what I listen to. That's if nobody knows by this point, that's basically what this is. I just listen to this based off whatever I hear. I just ramble on or something like that. Okay, we're on this one. It better not be like a copy, but whatever. Let's go.
My mother-in-law called me selfish when I refused to let her wear my late mom's wedding dress to renew her vows. Now she's demanding I add her initials to my baby's name if I want to see any financial support for my daughter's medical bills after an accident. I, 32F, have been married to my husband Kyle, 34M, for 5 years now. We have a beautiful 2-year-old daughter, Lily, who is the light of our lives. Kyle is a wonderful, caring husband, but his mother, Diane, 61F, has always been difficult. To understand this story, I need to go back a bit. My mother passed away from cancer 4 years ago, just a year before Kyle and I got married. She was my best friend, my rock, and losing her was the most painful experience of my life. Before she
really
died,
bad.
she gave me her wedding dress, which had been in our family for 3 generations. She'd altered it herself when she married my dad, and her mother had worn it before her. It was simple but elegant, a vintage lace gown with delicate pearl beadwork that had somehow withstood the test of time. Someday, you'll wear this when you marry that wonderful man of yours, she told me during one of her final lucid days in hospice. And maybe one day, Lily will wear it too. We hadn't even had Lily yet, we weren't even married, but somehow, Mom knew we'd have a daughter and what we'd name her. I did wear that dress when Kyle and I got married. I had it professionally cleaned and carefully altered to fit me perfectly while preserving as
Well,
much of the original design as
that's
possible.
actually very
It was my
good.
way of having my mother
That's
there with me on
surprising
my
she
wedding
knew.
day. Everyone commented on how beautiful it was, including Diane, who seemed genuinely happy for us that day. Fast forward to 3 months ago. Diane and her husband announced they were planning to renew their vows for their 40th anniversary. One evening while visiting for dinner, Diane casually mentioned that she'd been thinking about what to wear for the ceremony. I was
Obviously, there's nothing really to talk about, of course. I mean, like, I know this is supposed to be a reaction channel, but a react channel, but I mean, if there's no drama in the first couple of seconds, I mean, there's really nothing for me to say.
thinking, she said, swirling her wine glass, that your mother's dress would be perfect. It's just sitting in storage anyway, and it would mean so much to me to wear something so special to
Oh,
our.
yeah. Okay, now here we go. That that's gonna bring up a lot of drama right there. Oh, shit. Yeah, no. It's a it's a heirloom basically. You don't just give out your heirloom to random people. That's just why would you do that? It doesn't make any sense to do that. But this is gonna start something. I don't know. This is gonna start something, some drama that doesn't need to be a drama. Because obviously, oof, let's just listen to it.
Family. I nearly choked on my food. Kyle looked uncomfortable but said nothing as I tried to gather my thoughts. I'm sorry, Diane, but that dress has significant sentimental value to me. It was my mother's, and her mother's before that. I'm saving it for Lily someday, if she wants it. Diane's expression immediately hardened. It's just collecting dust in your closet. Don't you think your mother would want it to be used rather than hidden away? Besides, we're family now. What's yours is ours. I'm sorry, but no, I said firmly. That dress is one of the few physical connections I have left to my mother. It's not just a dress to me. The dinner quickly became awkward after that, with Diane barely speaking to me for the remainder of the evening. As they were leaving, I overheard her telling Kyle that I was being selfish and unnecessarily stubborn or just a piece of fabric. I thought that was the end of it, but I was wrong. Over the next few weeks, Diane brought up the dress at every opportunity. She enlisted Kyle's sisters to text me about how
Oh no, why the family? That, oh my god, you gotta kill me. I hope, I hope, I hope her husband, their husband, doesn't get involved. Like, my God, this would be extremely bad.
Reasonable I was being. She even called my father to try to get him to convince me, but thankfully, he understood and supported my decision. Kyle
Why would
initially tried to stay
what?
neutral, saying
That'd
he
be
understood
stupid.
both sides and suggesting we find a compromise. I was hurt that he wouldn't firmly stand up for me, but I also knew he was in a
Yeah, I
difficult
mean,
position between his wife and his mother.
that
Things came
makes
to a head at a
sense.
family barbecue at Diane's house. Kyle's sister Amanda directly confronted me in front of everyone, saying I was being petty and that if I truly loved Kyle, I would show more respect for his family traditions. What tradition? I asked, genuinely confused. This is my family's dress, not yours. Well, you're part of
Yeah,
our family now, Diane interjected. And in our family, we share. We don't hoard sentimental items selfishly.
oh my God, she even said we don't hoard sentimental. Oh my God, she even said it was sentimental. Oh shit. You don't hoard sentimental objects. Okay, so let me borrow your wedding ring. Isn't that sentimental? I'll give it back. I just wanna, I wanna wear it to, flash it around. That makes no sense.
I looked at Kyle, expecting him to defend me, but he was engaged in conversation with his father, deliberately ignoring the confrontation. That's when I knew I had to stand my ground alone. Diane, I'm sorry if you feel I'm being selfish, but this dress is not up for negotiation. It's one of the most precious things my mother left me, and it's meant to stay in my direct family line. I'd appreciate if you could respect that and stop bringing it up. The tension was palpable, but I
That
held
makes
firm.
sense.
Diane
That's
eventually huffed
logical.
away, muttering something about me not understanding what family means. Kyle later told me I could have handled it more diplomatically, which only added to my frustration.
What? Uh huh. Oh my God, dude. You cannot say anything. You did absolutely nothing in the conversation. I understand he is their husband, but my God, he absolutely did nothing in the conversation. So why the fuck is he coming about and saying you could have handled that better? How? How can you handle a situation better without giving in? How can you handle it any better than you already are? That makes no sense at all.
Life went on, somewhat tensely, for about a month. Diane would make passive aggressive comments whenever we saw her, but I tried to ignore them for Kyle's sake. Then, disaster struck. Lily was at daycare when she fell from a playground structure. What initially seemed like a simple accident turned out to be much more serious. She had suffered a concussion and fractured her arm in 2 places. The daycare had immediately called an ambulance, and Lily was rushed to the hospital. The next few days were a blur of fear, tests, doctors, and eventually, relief as we learned that Lily would make a full recovery. However, the financial reality quickly set in. Despite having insurance, we were facing significant out of pocket expenses for the ambulance, emergency care, follow up visits, and physical therapy.
Don't tell me.
Kyle and I were discussing how to manage these unexpected costs
Do
when
not
Diane
tell
called to
me.
check on Lily. When Kyle mentioned our financial concerns, Diane immediately offered to help. We'd be happy to cover Lily's medical bills, she said. Family takes
Mm,
care of family. I was genuinely touched by her
mm,
generosity, especially given our
but,
recent
but,
tension.
but,
Kyle
but,
put the
but.
call on speaker so I could thank her. That's incredibly kind of you, Diane. We appreciate it more than you know.
But,
There was a pause
but,
before she responded, Well, I've been thinking. Since we're investing so much in Lily's future, I think it would be nice if she carried a piece of our family legacy too. I felt a knot form in my stomach. What do you mean? Well, you know my mother's name was Marianne. I think Lily Marianne would sound beautiful. Or even just adding my initial, Lily D for Diane. A small change to acknowledge our contribution to her life. I was stunned into silence.
I knew something was going on. That's not exactly how I thought it was going to go. I thought they were going to talk. I thought she was going to talk about the dress, but my God, that went a completely different side than I thought. I knew there was a but phew, That was not what I was expecting. I thought they were talking about the dress, but she.
Kyle quickly jumped in. Mom, that's not really something we'd consider. Lily already has her name. I'm just saying, if we're going to be financially responsible for her well-being, it would be nice to have some recognition. After all, names are important to your wife, aren't they? Important enough to deny me a simple request about a dress. And there it was, the true motive behind her sudden generosity.
Yeah, it was about
I
the
felt
dress.
sick. Diane, I said carefully, we appreciate your offer, but we can't rename our daughter in exchange for financial help. That's not how this works. I'm not asking you to rename her, Diane clarified, her voice taking on that familiar condescending tone. Just add my initial or my mother's name as a middle name. It's a small thing to ask in exchange for taking care of thousands in medical bills. Kyle ended the call shortly after, promising to think
My
about it
God.
despite the furious look I gave him. When he hung up, I couldn't hold back anymore.
That is
Strength training,
terrible.
now at a new level. Gym Monster 2 is an all-in-one design.
That's not
About it
something
despite
you
the
can
furious
do.
look I gave him. When he hung up, I couldn't hold back anymore. Are you seriously considering this? I demanded. Of course not, he assured me. I just said that to end the conversation. We'll figure out the bills some other way. But the next day, Diane texted us both with information about how to legally add or change a middle name, adding that she'd already spoken to her financial advisor about setting up a payment plan for Lily's medical expenses once we'd come to an agreement.
That's
I blocked her number
stupid.
immediately and told Kyle I didn't want to discuss it any further. We would find another way to pay for Lily's care, even if it meant
Don't tell
taking
me
out a
he's
loan or
gonna go
picking up
behind
extra
her back.
shifts. No amount of money was worth allowing his mother to literally buy her way into our daughter's identity. Kyle seemed to agree,
That's true.
but I could tell he was torn. His mother had always been financially generous with him, helping with college expenses and giving us a substantial down payment for our house as a wedding gift. The unspoken expectation of compliance.
But is it actually a gift if she's expecting something back? Like, seriously, a gift has nothing to do with expectation. A gift is a gift. You can't expect anything. No, you can't expect anything monetary. You can't expect anything about, like, obedience. You can't expect anything like that. That's stupid. That's not giving. You're not giving because you're giving. You're basically giving for something in return, and that's not giving at all. That's just, I don't know what it's called, but that's something else.
In return had never been this explicit before, but it had always been there. For a week, we managed to avoid the topic, focusing instead on Lily's recovery. She was doing remarkably well, already adapting to her tiny arm cast and returning to her usual energetic self. I was working from home to care for her, which meant my income had temporarily decreased, adding to our financial stress. Then came the bombshell. Kyle came home one evening looking nervous. He waited until Lily was asleep before bringing up what was clearly weighing on him. My mom called again today, he began hesitantly. She's offering to not only cover all of Lily's medical expenses but also set up a college fund for her with an initial deposit of $50,000.
Now
waited,
she's trying to
knowing there was
buy her
more.
way.
The condition is that we add Marianne as Lily's middle name and spend Christmas with them this year instead of going to your dad's as planned. I felt my
That's
blood
crazy.
pressure rising.
That's...
Kyle, please tell me you shut this down immediately. He looked away. I told her I'd discuss it with you. Angel, it's a lot of money. Money that would secure Lily's future. Her future is not for sale, I hissed, trying to keep my voice down so I wouldn't wake our daughter. I can't believe you're even considering this. This is our child, not a billboard she can sponsor. That's not fair, Kyle protested. Mom
Yeah,
is
shut
trying to
up.
help in her own way.
No, she's not. She's trying to buy rights into somebody else's life. That's all she's doing.
No, she's trying to control us using money as leverage. And she's specifically targeting things she knows are important to me, my mother's legacy, my relationship with my dad, my daughter's name that I chose to honor my mom. This isn't about Lily at all. It's about getting back at me for the dress. The argument escalated from there, with Kyle eventually sleeping on the couch. The next morning, he apologized and admitted I was right, but I could tell part of him still thought I was being unreasonable for refusing such a generous offer. What Kyle didn't know was that during our argument, I'd finally reached my breaking point. While he slept, I called my father and explained everything that had happened. Dad was furious on my behalf and immediately offered to help with Lily's
That
medical
makes sense.
expenses.
That's reasonable.
Your mother left you more than just her dress, he told me. She left you a significant investment portfolio that we've been saving for an emergency. This certainly qualifies. I had no idea Mom had set aside money for me. Dad explained that they'd always meant to tell me about it after I'd established
Wow.
myself independently, not wanting me to rely on the
She's
safety
very
net.
thoughtful,
Now,
man.
he was
She's a
grateful
very
they had it
thoughtful
available
mother.
when I truly needed it. When I told Kyle about this the next day, I expected him to be relieved. Instead, he seemed almost disappointed, as if my solution had removed his justification for considering his mother's offer. That's great, he said without enthusiasm. I'll call Mom and tell her we don't need her help after all. Is that all you have to say? I asked, increasingly frustrated. Your mother tried to buy our daughter's identity, and you're acting like I just turned down a cable promotion, not an attempt to manipulate and control our family. That conversation led to more arguments, with Kyle eventually admitting that he'd grown up always accepting his mother's financial help and the strings that came with it. It was normalized in his family to the point where he
That makes
genuinely couldn't
sense.
see how inappropriate her request was. She's always been like this, he confessed. When I was in college and wanted to
That's
switch
not
majors,
normal. That's not a normal behavior you should tolerate. That's somebody who's trying to control your life based off of monetary things. There's a difference between somebody trying to actually support you, being an actual parent and stuff like that, and a person that's trying to control you and actually, you know, hinting or subtly hinting that they helped you, yada yada yada, stuff like that. There's a difference. Like seriously, what the?
from business to education, she threatened to stop paying my tuition. When I wanted to move in with my college girlfriend, she bought me a condo under her name so I'd have to live by her rules. It's just how she shows love. That's not love, I wanted to
That's not
say.
love. Yeah, that isn't love. That's control. That's what that is. That's control. So you don't have the. So you don't leave her basically. So she has one less person to control. If you leave, obviously she can't control you, or she can, but you will find out that your situation was not what it seems.
But I could see in his eyes that this realization was already dawning on him, painfully and slowly. Instead of pushing further, I suggested we consider couples therapy to work through this issue together. Kyle was reluctant at first but eventually agreed. In the meantime, Diane had evidently realized her plan had backfired. She began a campaign to repair the damage, sending gifts for Lily and texts to Kyle asking when they could see her granddaughter. She didn't contact me directly, knowing I'd blocked her number. Through Kyle, she eventually
Oh shit. Yeah, once somebody finds out that, they somebody finds out you're controlling them, the thing they want to do is try to minimize and send gifts basically. Just minimize and apologize pretty much. That's it. That's all they try to do. That's exactly what they do. They try to minimize and apologize, and then once they get your trust back, and once you accept their apology, they go right back to controlling you and probably manipulating you.
offered what she considered an apology. I'm sorry if Angel misunderstood my intentions. I was only trying to help, and I thought incorporating a family name would be a nice gesture. Some people are just more
Right.
sensitive about these things. Classic non
No.
apology. I wasn't having it. Kyle and I had our first therapy session the following week, where he began to understand just how much his mother's behavior had affected both our marriage and his own ability to set boundaries. The therapist helped him see that what he'd grown up thinking was normal generosity was actually financial control. 2 sessions in, Kyle made a decision that genuinely surprised me. He called his mother while I was present and set clear boundaries: no more financial offers with strings attached, no more attempts to change Lily's name, and a sincere apology to me if she wanted to be part of our lives going forward. Diane didn't take it well. She cried, accused me of turning her son against her, brought up everything she'd ever
Yeah,
done for
that
him
makes
financially,
sense.
and even
Yep.
threatened to change.
Uh-huh. Manipulation. That's manipulation right there. If you try to bring up some things that you did just because you want to help somebody, and then later on you try to use it as a weapon, that's 100% manipulation. There's exceptions, of course, but usually that's what it is. It's just another form of manipulation. It's a long form of manipulation. Basically, you're just playing a long game at that point.
Your will. Kyle remained calm but firm, even when she hung up on him. I'm proud of you, I told him afterward, genuinely impressed by his resolve. I should have done it years ago, he admitted.
We all want better than just
Absolutely.
average tasting coffee. With the L'Or Barista system, you can make the most delicious French cafe quality coffee right
Business.
Him afterward, genuinely impressed by his resolve. I should have done it years ago,
Honestly,
he admitted.
most people wouldn't be
I
able
just
to
never
do
had
that.
something important enough to protect before. The next few weeks were quiet on the Diane front, which was a relief as we focused on Lily's recovery and our own healing as a couple. My dad came through with the money for Lily's medical expenses, refusing to let us pay him back and insisting it's what Mom would have wanted. Then,
Yeah,
last
probably.
weekend, a large package arrived
Most
at our
likely.
door. Inside was a beautiful handmade quilt, carefully crafted from various fabrics with significant meaning. There were patches made from Kyle's baby clothes, fabrics from Diane's own life, and in the center, most surprisingly, a square made from material that looked remarkably like my mother's wedding dress. A note accompanied it. I asked your father for a small swatch of fabric from a hidden seam of your mother's dress. He felt it was a way to honor both our families without compromising the integrity of your heirloom. I hope this quilt can be a peace offering and a symbol of our united family. No strings attached. Love, Diane. I was shocked,
Ooh,
touched, and slightly
I am
suspicious all at
shocked as
once.
well.
When
Yeah,
I called
me
my father to
too.
confirm,
I'm like, I'm like, wait, what? Are we listening to the same person as before? I'm confused. I am very confused.
he acknowledged giving Diane the small piece of fabric, explaining that he felt it was a genuine attempt at reconciliation. Your mother
Is
would
it
have
though?
appreciated the gesture, he told me. She'd always said life's too short to hold grudges, even when people make mistakes. Kyle and I discussed it at length and decided to cautiously accept the olive branch. Yesterday, we invited Diane over for dinner, the first time she'd been to our home since the initial dress incident. The evening was understandably awkward at first, but as we watched Diane genuinely engage with Lily, respecting our parenting boundaries and making no mention of names, money, or dresses, we both relaxed a little. Before leaving, Diane asked to speak with me privately. Once Kyle had walked her to the car, she handed me an envelope. This doesn't come with conditions, she said firmly. It's a college fund for Lily that's already been established. The paperwork is all there. You and Kyle are the trustees until she's of age. What you name her, where you spend holidays, what she wears, those are your decisions as her parents. I was wrong to try to control that. I was speechless, searching her eyes for any hint of manipulation or
Yeah.
ulterior motive. For once, I found none. Thank you, I said
I'm
simply.
surprised.
This is incredibly generous. I've realized something, she continued. My own mother was controlling in the same ways I've been with Kyle and now with you. I never saw it until now. I don't want to lose my relationship with my son and granddaughter the way my mother eventually lost her
I see.
relationship with me. It wasn't a perfect
That
apology,
makes sense.
but it felt like a
actually.
genuine
Yeah,
start.
now this all
As she
makes
turned to
sense.
leave, she added, "An angel? That wedding dress is stunning. Your mother had beautiful taste. Lily will look lovely in it someday, if she chooses to wear it." I'm not naive enough to think one conversation has completely transformed our relationship. There will undoubtedly be more boundary tests and difficult moments ahead. But for the first time, I feel hopeful that we
Honestly,
might
I'm-
eventually
I'm
find a
very
way to be a family that respects
surprised.
each other's values and boundaries. Kyle and I have decided to accept the college fund as a genuine gift without strings, but we've made it clear that any future attempts at financial control will result in an immediate return of the money and another period of limited contact. So far, Diane seems to be respecting this boundary. As for my mother's wedding dress, it remains safely preserved in our closet, waiting for the day when Lily might
But it's not easy. Especially if you grew up with that. If you grew up with that, if the mom grew up with that, and then she forced that as well, it's not easy to change. It is not easy to change. You could, but the way you parent and the way your lifestyle is, it's not easy. Like I said, you could change, but sometimes you might slip.
choose to continue its legacy. And if she doesn't? That will be completely her choice, free from manipulation or guilt from any grandmother, present or past. For now, I'm focusing on what matters most, my healing daughter, my growing marriage, and the hope that the next chapter of our family story will be written with more understanding and respect than the last. Edit. Wow, I didn't expect this post to blow up like it did. Thank you all for your support and advice. To answer some common questions, yes, we verified with a lawyer that the college fund truly has no strings attached and is irrevocable.
Wow.
We're continuing
That's
with
crazy.
therapy, both as a couple and now Kyle is doing individual sessions to work through his childhood patterns. No, I would never consider changing Lily's name for any amount of money, and Kyle completely agrees.
That's true. Why would any
For those
parent
asking
do
about
that?
the dress, it's currently professionally preserved and stored in a climate-controlled unit, not just in our closet as I casually mentioned. We did confirm with my father that he gave Diane only a tiny swatch from an interior seam that had already been altered, so the dress itself is completely intact for Lily someday. Update: it's been 3 months since my original post, and I wanted to share a quick update.
Dang,
Things
3
with
months
Diane have
already.
been cautiously better. She's respected our boundaries so far and has made visible efforts to connect with us without using money as leverage. Kyle has been amazing at maintaining the boundaries we set, even when his mother occasionally tests them in subtle ways. Our therapist
Yep,
says this is actually a
I
good
knew it.
sign. Real change isn't instant, but Diane's willingness to correct herself when called out shows genuine effort. Lily's
It
recovery is
does.
complete, and she's back to
Honestly,
her energetic
I
self
am
with no
honestly
lasting
very
effects from her
surprised.
accident. The medical bills are paid, and we've decided to match Diane's college fund contribution with my mother's investment money, giving Lily a substantial head start for her future, no strings attached from either grandmother. Most importantly, Kyle and I are stronger than ever, having learned how to face family challenges as a united team. I still keep the wedding dress safely stored away, but now I look at it with less anxiety and more hope for whatever future Lily chooses for herself.
No one, not even WhatsApp,
I
can
think
see
those
your
fans,
personal
honestly,
messages.
I don't think there's anymore. Yeah, that's it. Like, honestly, I mean, I'm honestly, I am surprised. Of course, that didn't really. Um, Normally they don't really turn out like that. Whenever it turns out like that, I'm just surprised because I have watched so many Reddits and they don't normally turn out like that at all. They just don't. Okay. This is my. I'm just gonna keep doing this because this is how I've done it for the last two. My mother-in-law called me selfish when I refused to let her wear my late mother's wedding dress too. And that was the Reddit on Dead Spies Reddit story react. I need to remember my name. Like, my God. It's just me forgetting how the fuck my name is just terrible.